from what my people are telling me, they are good officers, the sergeant included. Good officers under a lot of pressure, though, to make arrests, and under pressure, they did the wrong thing.
4 police officers, including a commander, were wounded Sunday afternoon when a gunman walked into a police precinct and opened fire in Detroit. That's according to the city's police chief, who says although one of the officers, the commander, was shot in the back and was critically wounded, all 4 of the officers are likely to be okay. Police say officers returned fire, killing the gunman. They also say they know the man's identity. However, they say their investigation is just beginning, and they did not immediately release his name. Carla Bradley, The Associated Press.
December 13th. That was the day all hell broke loose.
That is the day this angry and protective uncle says someone walked in on Detroit police officer Colin Eaton raping his own stepdaughter.
I lost it, and it was unbelievable. It was so unbelievable because I thought he was on my team helping me watch my nieces. And apparently that wasn't true.
DeAndre Robinson, who doesn't want us to show his face, says after Eaton was caught, both of his nieces found the courage to reveal the sexual abuse they claim has been going on for nearly a decade.
Good officers under a lot of pressure, though.
The individual who's responsible for initiating this is deceased. We returned fire, and he is deceased. For the public's sake, the 6th Precinct, the Plymouth and Warwood Station, because of the nature of what happened, it's an active crime scene that's being investigated. So if there's any service that the public needs relative to police reports, we would recommend they go to the 10th Precinct or the 12th Precinct.
And the conditions of some of those people who've been shot, we just have that one report that we're working to confirm right now of 1 dead. As we learn more about this breaking news story, we'll bring that to you.
But overall, I'm told a good batch of officers just under pressure.
You kick that door in and kill a baby. I don't understand that.
She was murdered by those who are sworn to protect and serve us.
The 34-year-old suspect was indeed found hiding in the upstairs apartment where Ayanna was shot. Now the investigation. How is it that an officer's gun discharged in the direction of a sleeping child? What happened in the house leading up to the shooting?
We cannot undo what occurred this morning.
Told a good batch of officers just under pressure, again, did the wrong thing.
A shooting inside of a precinct. Someone walked in with what we're now learning was a shotgun and opened fire on police as they were working inside that precinct. And now some more detail. We wanted to know who that person would be, and here's what we're learning from one of the sergeants who sent us an email. A black male approximately the age of 35 walked into the 6th and 8th precinct located on Warwick in northwest Detroit. It's in the middle of a neighborhood, striking 4 officers with a shotgun. Officers took cover and returned fire, fatally wounding that suspect. One commander received a gunshot wound. Some of this is we know from our reporter who also joined us in the last half hour, but some of it also is just coming in. Another sergeant was grazed, a police officer grazed, and then a female sergeant was shot in the chest area, but she had on a bulletproof vest. Those injuries are expected not to be life-threatening. This situation in Detroit tonight, 4 officers shot, is rattling this neighborhood. There are people who live right around the corner from where these police do their jobs. I want you to take a listen to some of the reaction from the people who live there.
This is just too much, too much. These people just need to have respect for these officers. I'm just praying for them and their families. People don't know. When you have relatives that work for law enforcement, how hard it is. They just don't understand.
I tell you, it is tough. We're getting word now from the Detroit mayor, who's just held a news conference there, and he says 4 of our officers were wounded. I want to give you their ranks, but I would also ask that you please not give out their names. We're not sure if all of their family members have been notified, and we certainly do not want any of them to find out from their family what has happened here today. He goes on. I'm reading a transcript from that news conference that's just come into our newsroom urgent queue. This situation, a very, very serious one, as you might imagine, in Detroit. You heard from the woman there who's hurting over this. We'll stay on this as we learn more information about what would have set somebody off to go into this precinct earlier this evening and open fire on those who protect and serve We'll bring it to you. Now, another situation, and I said it earlier, we weren't sure how police officers might be involved. And
they knew what they were doing the whole time. I mean, they had me handcuffed, and they would walk like a few seconds away. They're like a few yards away, then they'll talk to each other, whisper to each other, and they'll come back for more.
Still afraid to show his face more than 3 months after the incident. This former clerk at the Marathon station on West Warren and I-96 says he's glad the officers will pay for their crime.
I want to see them get charged because that's what they deserve. They shouldn't be out there. They're there to protect and serve.
But in this sworn affidavit, an FBI agent says officers Brandon Allen and Aaron Scott broke the law. The members of the Detroit Police Tactical Services Section are accused of extorting $500 cash from the clerk in late October and threatening him if he didn't pay up.
The reason I gave him the money was because, they're telling me, okay, now you're going to go to jail and it's going to cost you some lawyer fees, probably like $10,000 to get a lawyer to get you out of this. You might spend time in jail.
The clerk says the officers showed up at the station after they saw him chase away some troublemakers with a shotgun. But he quickly realized they weren't there to help. In the end, those officers were busted because the entire incident was caught on surveillance tape.
There was like 3 cameras behind the register, and I don't know how dumb these cops could be asking me, and it's all under audio and video, and they just didn't hesitate. Like they didn't care.
And they certainly care now. We're told those 2 officers are suspended with pay.
Good officers under a lot of pressure, though.
This is the gun lying in the middle of the Canton Library parking lot. Police say 36-year-old Edward Williams used to shoot his wife, 33-year-old Patricia Williams, and then himself. 2 married Detroit police officers whose turbulent relationship exploded this morning before 9:30 while horrified people watched.
Kid 911.
Yes, I got a man just shot himself and a woman in the parking lot of the Canton Library. I need somebody to get here quickly. We're going to need an ambulance.
A man and a woman has been shot?
He shot himself and he shot her.
Police say Ed Williams shot his wife 4 times as she tried to get away from him and then shot himself. The 2 lived in this quiet Canton Township neighborhood and were raising a child from Patricia's previous relationship. Ed worked as a homicide detective. Patricia, an officer since 1995, worked mostly out of the Northwestern District. But Canton police say the couple had trouble.
The sergeant included. Good officers under a lot of pressure, though, to make arrests and under...
It was called Operation Icebreaker. It was supposed to take criminals off the streets, but instead, several Detroit cops are off the job. Tonight, Fox News' Brad Edwards live on 8 Mile to show us what happened. Brad.
Good evening, Huel. We were tipped off about this story earlier today. It was a joint venture between Detroit police on one side of 8 Mile and adjoining jurisdictions on the north side of 8 Mile. Operation Icebreaker, bringing in criminals of all sorts. But now you haven't heard of it because 6 Detroit police officers are now on ice because of Operation Icebreaker. Operation Icebreaker, a multi-front, multi-jurisdictional criminal smackdown. Vice, narcotic, traffic, targeting dope pushers to pimps on the 8 Mile corridor. It was my understanding they, Detroit police, were to have a press conference on this on Monday, and that never happened. I don't know why, said Warren Police Commish Bill Dwyer. You never did see a presser with DPD Chief Barron, in part because 6 vice cops with DPD are now off the job, suspended because of an Operation Icebreaker fudging. They were to crack down on strumpets hooking on 8 Mile. Sources informed Fox 2 they couldn't find any Scarlet women there, so they went elsewhere, found a half-dozen miles away, Harper and Chalmers, nabbed them and falsified their reports to say they busted them on 8 Mile.
Very serious allegations. When cops phony reports, the cops become the criminals.
She was asleep, and they came through the door shooting, throwing flash grenades.
At the wrong house.
At the wrong house.
At the wrong house.
Burned my baby up and shot her, killed her. She the only thing that can make me happy. That was my only daughter for a reason. She was my happiness. She was my joy.
This is a tragedy of...
They are good officers, the sergeant included. Good officers under a lot of pressure.
An update now on that shooting at a police precinct in Detroit. Our Fox affiliate there says a gunman walked in with a shotgun hitting 4 officers, including the commander on duty. We're also hearing that the shooter is dead. Joining us by phone to fill us in on more as the story continues to unfold is Alexis Wiley at our Fox affiliate WJBK. Alexis, are you with us?
I am with you.
We saw some ambulances a short time ago as video had just come in. What's the latest on what you can tell us happened inside that precinct?
Well, I just spoke with an officer who works here at this precinct and came here soon after it happened. He says a man walked into the station and jumped over the counter, pulled out a shotgun, and started firing. He struck 4 officers. One, the commander you mentioned, was shot in the back. He's in critical condition. One officer was shot in the head. He's in temporary serious condition. Another sergeant was shot in the ear. He's in serious condition. And another sergeant was grazed in the stomach area, but she was wearing a vest, so she was not injured. But again, people here just shocked by what happened. They don't know who this man was. They don't know why he chose this police station to come inside. And one question they were wondering is, did he walk here? Did he drive? These are all questions that they're still trying to answer, and there are plenty of police on the scene, investigators investigating what happened.
Absolutely. Alexis, of course, all of this is still coming in. The Associated Press is just reporting this, and as you do your reporting there in Detroit, I'm sure that you'll be able to confirm some of this as well. It looks like they know who this man is, but they are not identifying him to the public. This is according to the Associated Press. They're not immediately releasing his name. You're saying there was no indication as to why he would do this, but there were plenty of witnesses, because you've at least talked to one, inside that precinct. Did they say what was going on right before this happened?
All they told me was that he walked in. I asked if he said anything. Everyone I spoke with said no, and just suddenly began firing. Some are suspecting that this could have been a suicide by cop situation. They didn't know if he knew any of the officers here, but again, that's still very preliminary information, and just more information is coming out, every minute.
Well, tell me this, what is the scene like right now? If you could put into context, where is this Northwest precinct? Is it near a neighborhood? Are there people gathered outside?
Well, it's actually right in the middle of a neighborhood. There are plenty of houses surrounding it. Right now, there are cars surrounding the station, plenty of off-duty officers. The minute they heard that an officer had been shot, they drove here. And we also have a lot of relatives here who didn't know which officer was shot, but just came to see for themselves to find out what was happening. And, here in Detroit, there are a lot of people very frazzled right now because of what happened about a week ago. A Livonia police officer, Livonia is a suburb of Detroit, a Livonia police officer was shot in the line of duty just about 6 days ago. So, just very traumatic situation out here.
Yeah, tough for that community. So this precinct sitting right in the middle of that Northwest Detroit neighborhood, very, very frightening for the people who were there. And no doubt for police as they try to collect details. And what happened tonight is 4 of their own were targeted by this person who walked into the precinct. Alexis Wiley, I know that there's some things that are still happening, news conferences, so on and so forth, that are expected this evening. I know the police chief has talked already with reporters. As new details come in, we may check back with you. But for the meantime, thank you very much for updating us on this breaking story.
Thank you.
All right. It is a very, very busy night for breaking news. And this next story has just happened.
Detroit's Board of Police Commissioners today dealt with the police officer accused but not formally charged with hiring a hitman to kill his wife. Local 4's Corey Chambers is live in downtown Detroit with more on today's commission meeting. Corey.
Well, Steve, the core issue today wasn't necessarily whether Sergeant Cobb should be suspended or not suspended. He was suspended prior to the hearing. He's suspended now. But the issue really was whether he should be suspended with or without pay as he is facing these serious allegations. Now, take a look. This man we're talking about, this is 38-year-old Detroit Police Sergeant David Cobb. He was arrested this week, months after the shooting death of his wife Rose in the parking lot of this CVS. Now, police say it was a hired hit, with Cobb paying off 2 men $10,000 to do the job. But here's the key. As Steve mentioned, Cobb was never charged with anything. Cobb was actually released, and today his attorney made the case with the Detroit Police Board of Commissioners to continue to pay him while he is not working.
Borderline criminal.
Borderline criminal, says Charlie Langton. Police say that officer is suspended with pay as she faces up to 10 years in prison and $12,000 in fines.
This afternoon, prosecutors charged 30-year-old officer Lethea Weaver with felonious assault, discharge of a weapon inside a building, and possession of felony firearms. Sources tell Fox 2 that Weaver was off duty when she had an altercation with her husband in Romulus. That domestic dispute allegedly leading to her firing a handgun around 1 a.m. on Wednesday. She was later arrested and taken to the Romulus jail, where she was held overnight. Today, during a video arraignment, a judge accepted a plea of not guilty on all counts and released Weaver on $10,000 personal bond. As a condition, she is not to possess firearms or have any further domestic disputes.
From what my people are telling me, they are good officers, the sergeant included. Good officers under a lot of pressure, though.
Questions tonight over this photo of a Detroit police officer. It was posted on the web, and it appears he's sleeping on the job. The comments under the picture have been less than friendly about the city of Detroit. Fox 2's Andrea Isom live with more on this controversial photo. Andrea.
You cannot deny it. The picture does not look good, and neither does the caption, "This is how they do it in the D." But we talk with officers off camera who work with him every single day, and they say he is a good police officer, and this is just a bad situation.
Everybody that works for the Detroit Police Department is expected to give 8 hours work for 8 hours pay, and we expect it of everybody. But again, we want to make sure first that we understand and know to the best of our ability what the circumstances were behind the photograph.
Overall, I'm told a good batch of officers just under pressure, again, did the wrong thing. Ewell?
All right, Brad, thank you for that live.
Wayne County, Michigan's top prosecutor says a guilty plea from Detroit Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick could be coming any day now. But Kilpatrick's attorney says while it looks like they're close to an agreement, it isn't a done deal yet. There's been speculation that the mayor would plead guilty to perjury charges and resign from office if prosecutors could guarantee that he wouldn't do any jail time.
Justice, it's not about agenda, it's not about mobilizing people, it's about dialing for corporate dollars. These two parties have sold the U.S. government and the American people to the highest bidders.
Call again. I need calling back unit unknown trouble 600 North Lamar, 600 North Lamar, Department 4, open 911 line. Any call back units are too high incident.